hopefully now you have done the Feldenkrais lesson in the previous episode with Paul and me, and if not, I highly recommend popping into your PE clothes and getting it done. And even if not, it's fine. Listen to our reflections, our wanderings about how to move and dance and create and think in this world of post-Feldenkrais. That lesson shattered me back into my being, and here to help us put it all back together is Paul Poiwali. Thanks, Paul.
Yes.
That was great. I don't even need yeah, that's one of those. That's one of those special experiences. Wow.
Yeah. So, how do you feel?
There are very few moments in life where you just naturally laugh with relief, like you've woken up, like you're back on this planet unfrozen or something. And I feel great. I feel way more confident. I feel taller. I feel stronger. I feel like I like my body. I feel like I can use my body finally. I feel my voice is different. The whole thing is like, yeah, it's like a big waking up, like a teleportation back to adolescence or something, or even something before that perhaps, and like a rattling me around and reshaking the pieces and giving it back to myself. And now I feel like, oh, like I was stuck. Dude, seriously, man, I felt so stuck in like this adolescent state where I was like the tiny kid and I sucked at sports and girls didn't like me and I was just like the loser. And I think I was like I don't know, like it's some kind of physical pattern almost. And it throughout my whole brain and my body or something. And I knew about it. And I talk about it, but it was just kind of there. And like your sense of self is like trapped in a certain way where it was at some point in time, but how do you change it? And now it's like this weird, like bringing me back to that time and just like giving my body back to me, not like this random position it was put in because of whatever social or biological circumstances I was in. But now I'm like, whoa. And I feel like I want to go swim. I want to go do some martial arts. I want to dance. These things I've always been, I'm not scared of swimming, but to swim vigorously and strongly and confidently and to actually get up and do a martial art or something, and or like actually like not to accept myself, not to be all like apologizing for talking or doing anything. I always felt like I was kind of not really I wasn't confident, and I feel way more confident now. I feel more like, oh, this is my body. I can use it. This is me. It's this like really, really cool thing. I hope it stays. Yeah, that's like my initial thoughts. Like this was just waking up back into like freedom, back into like my body and the world, and all that past stuff is yeah, it's there, but it's not in my body as much as it was before. I'm not controlled by it as much. No, I'm not completely free, but I'm more free. And it's like a confidence, it's a strength kind of feeling. So that, yeah, this definitely worked beyond my expectations. And there's a standing up too. Like when you're down there are times where you're a bit frustrated. Like, dude, when's this going to end? I can feel the heat all over my body because it's hot in Japan. I started to connect with all these little pieces around me, like little pieces of bone in my hip joints. My hips I never even thought about, I never connected with, I never even touched really. This body was like, parts of it I knew, but parts of it I've met for the first time or something. And it's like, whoa, you're back in it. And it's like this control over the entire spaceship instead of just being trapped in a little corner and trying to control the whole spaceship from like a tiny little wing. You're like, dude, you're more than a wing. You're the whole thing. So yeah, this is one of those life-changing things. It's something similar I felt. Well, it's beyond like a psychedelic or something. But I think this is why people take psychedelics is they want this, but this is like a fuller body version of all that stuff. Um, this is why, you know, like when I took a float tank, when I went to the float tank for the first time, the isolation tanks, I came out giggling and laughing because I think it did tickle and shake something new inside of me, but not to this degree. This was a higher magnitude earthquake that is reassembling. Once I stood up, it all kind of reassembled, and the pieces got put back together, and not fully, but I feel way more confident, like not scared to try new things, to use my body. I can use my brain. That's why I have do the podcast, I guess, because like, oh, you can use your brain. You can just study and research. And at first I was just doing solo episodes too, because solo episodes don't, you don't have to connect with other human beings. And then I started to like branch out and talk to people, but I still felt scared and like kind of nervous when I talked, interview guests and stuff. And now it's like I'm not as scared of people anymore either. And even like when you were doing it, I'm going. It's like a long answer, but uh, when you were doing that too, like I connected to your voice more than I normally directly connect to people's voices too. It was like I was in my body, but also I can see your body. I can see your vocal cords. I can see your kind of like I can see, well, this is another creature, and I'm another creature, and we're just here. Um, so it's like just overall better connection with myself, but also with others. And my past obviously got connected up too. Like that wasn't the plan, but I mean, even my voice sounds different now. I feel it's not as like
I'm glad you
up here.
noticed.
My voice is totally different, and I wanted a new voice.
Oh wow.
uh, This is great. No, this is great, dude. I was one of those, like kids with no friends in high school. I'll just be like, hanging out in the bathroom, like eating lunch and not eating lunch, just hiding in the stall, pretending to be eating lunch and waiting out the bell, and then, trying to make friends and they'd run away from you. And just, I don't know. The only thing that really gave me confidence was books and stuff. Cause like, teachers in university would come like, wow, that's the first time in my life where people actually accepted me, saying, oh yeah, you can write, you can think. Well, yeah, that's what you're going to do when you're disembodied, because that's your only tools to get up in your head and read and study. And that was my superpower. But if I can have my body too, which I thought I kind of had, because like what do you do? You grow up, you have sex, you drink, you kind of dance on the dance floor. But I wasn't properly using my body even then. I realized that was like some head version of my body. I wasn't really in it. So now I'm like, dude, what can I do with people now? What can I do with myself? What new possibilities um, with the things with the Feldenkrais thing? Now it's like just general life possibilities, identity possibilities are what's opening up, because like you're blocking yourself all the time. You're blocking yourself like, oh, I'm not gonna do that. I can't play sports. I can't dance. I can't make a business. I can't talk to that kind of person. They're not gonna like me, And now it's like I don't know. You sort of at least, because you see the possibilities even when you're moving. You're like, whoa, I can move that way. I can move this way, and it unlocks like little pieces in your brain at the same time. And you're like, whoa. So your identity, the whole thing is like kind of uh, repieced together, and it all opens up. And so I don't know. This might be like one of those things, like after someone gets high on something, they're like, whoa, this is the new life, and then it fades away. The next day, they're like back to normal. So I hope it's not like that kind of thing. But if not, at least I got it recorded and that kind of thing. So, or I could do it again, perhaps. So, I hope that other people listening to this also felt something. And if you didn't feel anything, go back and listen again, or do it properly, or don't do it properly. But like, I don't know, like that was cool. Maybe I just needed it.
Don't do it properly might actually be.
I mean, you said don't. You said don't. You said you
Yeah.
can make mistakes. Obviously, you could take a rest, but actually do it, because I was like getting lazy. I wanted to be like, oh, can we finish this thing? Even though I was in it, I loved it. I was like in it. And I was like, yeah, this is like I'm on some like psychedelic trip basically. But at the same time, you kind of want to go back to your comfort zone. But going through all those weird movements and things that you experience new possibilities, and you're like, whoa, and unlock the sort of frozenness where like you were stuck in like certain parts of my body were definitely kind of stuck in a certain way before, and therefore my mind must have been too. It sounds like I'm trying to tell you like what exactly you want to hear, but this is just like what I'm saying. Now I'm like rambling for 20 minutes, but I don't even care. Anyway, yeah, that's my answer. the voice is what I'm really happy about, dude. How do you do that? I didn't know that was even possible. How do you do that? The voice, and then like when I'm standing, I feel taller, and I feel like I'm like not all. I don't know. I feel like more like a um, just more confident. Yeah, more capable, more like not scared.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah. So like, thank you
Oh,
so much, Paul. I know it wasn't just you. Like
I
anyone could have done
mean,
this probably,
this,
but you did it. We did it. Yeah, that's cool.
yeah, I mean, it's so precious. Everything that you said, I will need to make a transcript of the 20 minutes of just your reflections, because you nailed down so many points, and I don't really know where to begin, but in the spirit of doing things roughly first, you got to start somewhere, right? I just want to bring up a quote, or something that I think Feldenkrais was quoted to say, which was, he is um, after restoring human dignity with his method. And I think you just said it, to feel possibilities, to feel like you can, to have this new, what you said, which was quite new for me, was not only possibilities, but identity possibilities. That, um, I think it's really through Feldenkrais that I decided, or I was able to see how things are options. And I'm closer to understanding that there is no true right or wrong. That, yes, you might have been the unpopular kid at school, and I can also relate to that. But it's an option, and now you have another knowledge, another understanding of yourself, another image of yourself, which allows you to have another identity. So yeah, sure. Sometimes you do have to be the loser, and then, but you now know how to be confident. And like when you said confidence, I was like, oh wow, what an amazing thing, right? And so Feldenkrais is really hard to describe, because if you think it's about movement only and improving your movement, it's not the whole story. But why do you need, or why would you benefit from moving better, from having more options to move, from your nervous system being much more acquainted with its possibilities? It's because it helps you act into the world differently. It helps you experience yourself in the world with other people differently. And yeah, for you to just dive right into that feeling, of confidence, I think that is so remarkable. And it's a lot about the intentions of Moshe Feldenkrais himself. Um, I want to bring up one of my favorite books from him, which I think yeah, let's see if you understand maybe more this confidence thing when I show you the cover. So he wrote this book, which is a bit, I think you will have the capacity to really read it easily. It wasn't easy for me, but I fell in love with the title, and it's Body and Mature Behavior, a study of anxiety, sex, gravitation, and learning. So once again, Body and Mature Behavior, a study of anxiety, sex, gravitation, and learning. And I think just this title alone has served as the basis for my understanding of human beings, of society, of culture, and therefore it gave me a foundation to work from, for art, for dance, for creating art, understanding art. because that's it, right? Like they're all keywords, but if you think about how we're always living in the gravitational field of Earth, how we have these different habits, uh, these known options to deal with being upright, with dealing with gravity, that um, then affects how we feel, right, in this gravitational world. Do we slump and sort of cave into gravity, or do we have a way of, do we like kind of um, impose ourselves against gravity, or do we have a way of sort of finding a floating ease in maintaining our balance, and which doesn't mean that it's one posture, right? That it's a way of shifting, of having many shades and versions of stability, balance, power, flexibility, etc. Right? So I think that there's so much, like I come to the word flexibility, even stability, mobility, strength, all of that. I don't know, these words have a much more dimensional image and meaning to me now after doing Feldenkrais, because they're not exclusive, and what you think is actually stability might be it's not a static thing. It's something that's very um, it's flexibility to shift, and seeing when it's also time to be hard and on the attack. So basically, I think Feldenkrais is giving us more options, more ways to be. Um, yeah, it's really rich.
Yeah, because like once you've retasted what it's like to be a natural, like living organism outside of society, basically you're just this real living thing once again. Then when you're moving through the world, like I've seen your Instagram, you got these like when you're walking through the world, you see possibilities of, oh, I can do that. I can move this way. I can go do this and that. It's these beautiful movements you're making on your Instagram, things that people don't really think about doing. And I'm betting that you're just like walking through the world, like walking through wherever you are right now, and you just like see something. You're like, oh, I can go do this. Oh, I can go do that, and you just do it. But other people don't even see it because they're in this rigid societal structure. Because that's a work, and jobs are kind of like built to follow these like pre-planned rules, a sort of tiny sliver of reality. But then when you can like get back into the meltiness of everything, you're like, oh, I don't have to do things a rigid way anymore. With work or with art or with relationships or with your identity or any of that stuff. So it's like that's like so freeing. That's super super cool. You're not like stuck in that dumb matrix thing, that box. Um, so yeah, how
Mm.
did Feldenkrais change the way you do art or you do dance or all that stuff?
I I think it's very similar to, or it's, yeah, we connect on the fascination of the brain and the nervous system, and Feldenkrais made me see the malleability of our brain and nervous system. So, to him, if I don't know if you managed to read the preface of his book, Awareness Through Movement, but so I think um, he really describes how learning is is our hope, because what we once thought was our brain, that you just uh, lose brain cells and you don't really regenerate new ones, or that the brain can rewire itself. Now we know that that's not true. I think there's even a story in the Norman Doidge book, the brain's way of healing. Uh, I think, yeah, if people Google Norman Doidge, the brain's way of healing, or the brain that changes itself, something like that, you'll see that you'll read that there's a story about a neuroscientist where I think the neuroscientist's dad, when he passed away, that I think the dad might have had some sort of neurological issue because of some accident. And then it was only after he passed away, and he passed away, I think, because of a hiking accident. It wasn't like he got sick, but when they did the autopsy, they then realized that he had been living a full life on just 2% of his brain. Like only 2% of his brain was healthy, something like that. So I think we are now, we're moving in this direction, but I think that there's so much hope for humanity if you just see it as a learning process, and that we can change, right? If we know how, and if we also have the will, I think, to change. And in Feldenkrais, we talk, when we're in the lessons, I think will is often connected to using a lot of effort, excess effort, straining, forcing things. But I think the will that I'm talking about is just saying, okay, let's maybe insist on a learning process, doing things, making mistakes, and continuing in that process in order to gain more, to learn more and gain more resilience in life. How to spring back from falls, from challenges. But yeah, so back to your question, how has Feldenkrais helped me with art? Is that I really see that we are a product of our habits. And so when I go watch a dance performance, I can see actually the self-image of the choreographer or the dancers. So if I watch a contemporary dance piece by an Israeli choreographer, I can see the imprint. If I see, or there are those pieces where there's more falling, postmodern New York, or downtown modern, sometimes we call it. You see that it's the first line of the preface in Feldenkrais's book, which is, we act in accordance with our self-image. And what becomes really interesting in art is that you start noticing, or in art with this Feldenkrais lens, is that you see there's a cultural stamp. Why do dancers move consistently in this mode? What are they valuing more? And why do some dancers avoid certain things altogether? So coming from I fell in love with ballet, for good or for bad, when I was 4 years old. And then I got really serious about it as I became a teenager. So this thing about the pelvis was, it was quite a block for me, and still I'm undoing certain traumas or patterns from it. So when I go watch a lot of the African dances, or just like watching some Balinese dancing, many different types of folk dances, especially, it's so different from ballet that, I sort of subscribed so much to this ballet aesthetic, this ballet way of thinking, where your pelvis was always underneath you, underneath the head, and there was this verticality that was very much idealized, to the point where when I was forced to do contemporary dance, I didn't know how to bend to go down and touch the floor. Like I was so high up, I didn't know actually. It was like a complete blind spot. I didn't know how to get to the floor. And this whole thing of getting habituated to let my hips go backwards, to let my bum go backwards. Because once I was, when I was 8, moved back to Hong Kong from Canada. And, there's a different kind of love, let's put it that way, from the teacher, where they will, um, they give feedback differently. And I remember being teased about having a big ass. And so I kind of wanted to hide my bum all the time for ballet, and maybe just because back then, or in certain places, having a big bum and having it protrude backwards was a bad thing. And so this, from this ballet kind of not knowing where to place my pelvis to do daily things to get into another type of dancing, to just be a human being, then now, almost, 30 years later, now when I watch dance, I'm like, oh, but look, that it's okay for the bum to go backwards. And which cultures encourage that more? Which cultures still want to keep that a hidden secret? And then when I looked at Tai Chi in the martial arts, and there's a lot of internal work, and when they talk about yin, that seems to always point towards the hip joints, the pubic bone, that very dark, mysterious place, and they find their power from the from the articulation, the initiations, subtle movements that make a significant impact to one's power. Then I'm like, okay, I have. So what I'm trying to say is that I just can see how we can be bound by values of society and culture, and that manifests in art, which is in a way propaganda, right? It's how people see themselves again. And so having just this lens from Feldenkrais, I feel that I'm able to see a lot more of the other possibilities. And I finally understood the significance of doing weird things in art, because every time you move, you do something really grotesque or broken, you're actually helping other people to break down the walls, conscious or subconscious, that have been keeping them imprisoned, keeping them from the full vitality that they deserve. So now when I see these inhibitions, I coach dancers, and I assist choreographers, and then I tune into, where are they not going, and what could the reason be? There's inhibition in the proximity of our lips from each other that I see, even though there can be a really round and expansive dancer, juicy dancer, but then you can still see where the mouth, there are places, there are like no-no zones in the space around them that they don't go. And that has a expressive, artistic limitation, but also technically, if you don't let the mouth kind of go off of your center and far away, and especially when you're with other people, then that also limits how much you can bend and find the juice in your hip joints, in the knees and the ankles. So you can see that a cultural, societal conditioning can have mechanical health-related implications, and vice versa. So every time I am, especially this lesson, I think it's so beautiful. I want to teach Feldenkrais, like a program called Feldenkrais for Your Inner Queen, spelled either Queen or Kween, but like, you know, your inner fierceness, your that being of being able to take a big bite into life and, you know, feel the ferocity, but also the the sensuality, the wisdom, the playfulness, spontaneity, um, being capricious, you know, and there, and with that confidence in the world, you become, I believe, a kinder person as well. But like a lesson like this one with all these articulations, you know, the collaboration of all the articulations together. Uh, yes, it is about feeling more grounded, confident, but think of this as um, getting much more, many more colors in your toolbox, right? Like you have more options, more expressive and artistic options now. So yeah, it's it's for, you know, Feldenkrais has helped me a lot with art, but it also has helped me see the art of life. Now you have a tool to help you to be an artist of your own life, right?
Yeah, yeah, it's great. It's great stuff. This is gonna be like it's like the most useful tool because all we really all want is to be confident, to feel like, oh, I can live my life, I can do it. So we're trying to find all these different ways to feel happy and to feel like in charge. But like this one seems to hit it right home. And what you were saying about neuroplasticity makes total sense too, because you know, as kids, we're total sponges. We can just passively go through the world and change, and therefore we've developed these patterns that we have as adults because we change so easily. Our brain, our whole nervous system is still growing, but you know, after the age of 25 or so, the real most powerful ways to change is by making mistakes, by making errors. But we don't allow ourselves to make errors anymore. But when you make an error on the neurochemical level, you know, your brain is releasing norepinephrine, acetylcholine, dopamine, all the stuff that's getting you basically the chemical soup that's going to allow you to make new memories. It's opening up neuroplasticity. And what's the biggest kind of error we can possibly make? I just realized is errors with gravity because gravity is our core survival thing. Yeah, we need food, we need sex, we need water, but we vitally need to be dancing in the right way with gravity. If we mess that up, we fall, we die. You know, that's the first thing babies learn how to walk before they learn how to talk, before they learn how to eat. Well, they kind of eat, but they're smashing all over their face. You know, they don't really know how to eat. But walking, being in the right relationship with gravity, when you make gravitational mistakes, you're moving in new ways, and you allow yourself to move in new ways. You're I think that is a key into, you know, adult neuroplasticity is like making little mistakes with gravity, and then all the neurochemically, bodily, everything's gonna be, it's gonna change your system. You go to sleep that night, you're gonna wake up a whole new person, you know? And what they also say about adult neuroplasticity too is it's all about kind of optimizing our short-term memory. And how do you optimize your short-term memory? It's by slowing down, eliminating distractions, doing one thing at a time. And with Feldenkrais, that's what you're doing. You How often do we just spend time with our body, just focusing on one little thing? Almost never. Like
Yeah.
never. So like I know this. I'm kind of like now I'm just like giving a weird little lecture or something, but this is like another insight I had. It's like, whoa, this is connection. Well, you learn from you know, guys like Andrew Huberman, which I
Mm-hmm.
steal a lot of stuff from him because he's the best, you know. Um, but you combine that with Feldenkrais, there's something going on with between the two of them, and this is something I just found there.
Yeah, and I
Um,
think that, you know, a lot of Feldenkrais practitioners also reference Andrew Huberman because we're all dealing with the brain, and I think that Feldenkrais, if you look at what he's studied over his lifetime, he he has studied like almost everything, and he wanted to get to the nature of the brain, of the nervous system, in order to help people live to their fuller potential, if not their fullest potential. And it's really when we are um, kind of pushed off balance, that's when your nervous system has a chance to be flexible, to deal with the moment and actually find other options. So I see challenges as something that keeps us flexible, therefore resilient. But I want to just go back to the whole falling thing, because what if we say that, we need to, it's actually the, we should fall more, because that's our chance to learn. And I think a lot of the world, as I see it, everyone's strengthening and getting fit, and actually, um, are we sort of clinging onto our image of what we think stability and strength and power is, and we're actually not allowing our ourselves to be strong, fit through how we can deal with falling, how we can recover from falling in many ways. I think like the nervous system of a cat is a very good example. Toss a cat in the air and you'll see how they will twist and turn and do all these things, in order to land on their feet. So I think that is what, now I haven't always been so brave, and well, it took a really gorgeous Brazilian man to make me look at myself and say, hey, how do I become the best version of myself so I remain attractive, of course, to the outside world, but most importantly, attractive to myself? And I'm like, I need to do things that are hard now. And it's not about just like jumping into um, a fire pit, right, immediately, but how can I just see these challenges as ways of helping my nervous system continue to feel very supple, and therefore have always come to another organization so I can deal with my mistakes in gravitational mistakes, as you put it. It's the more options you have, I think, then your nervous system is older than you. Our nervous system, I don't know, millions, billions of years old. It knows what it can, what to do, but we consciously can impose a lot of standards of right and wrong, and it stops it from unleashing its power, right? So theoretically, I understand the whole neuroplasticity thing, but I think as a human being, I feel like I'm only just beginning to see the merits and the advantages of allowing myself to fall, and I wish that I allowed myself to fall much more. Um,
And look what you're saying about the Brazilian man too. It's like it's not just falling with gravity. It's like some people, Feldenkrais aside, just friendship, some good person you meet, like they let you fall. I think it's not a coincidence that we say fall in love, because we actually like let ourselves sort of fall into it. We're not scared to fall into it. And some people like, yeah, some people are selfish. A lot of people are. They kind of just trying to get things from you. But you mean some people who are like, it's just the way they look at you, the way they listen to you, the way they talk, and they're there for you. And like they'll let you can cry in front of them, you can just like scream, you can just they'll listen to you. They'll like you're just ranting and being annoying, but they're there for you
mhm,
or whatever. And they're by letting you fall in, yeah, in whatever way, socially or economically, or you're just emotionally falling,
mhm,
and they're just there for you, then it's like, whoa, that opens up possibilities for you too. Because you learn from that, like, whoa, I can, um, this is what it is to be human, and we don't gotta be scared. What did that Brazilian man teach you about yourself? What possibilities opened
I
up?
mean, after the first night,
We don't have to go there if you don't want to.
no, I
Yeah.
think it's great to just be honest, and this is me just letting it rip because
Yeah.
I have to be me, and I think yeah, it's a kind of fun entry into this whole subject of
It's connected still. It's like it's
yeah
all about opening up possibilities through falling and making mistakes and small movements, small new movements.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's because after the first night with him, and then just like like he's so gorgeous, um, and we're not together. Like it sort of fizzled. But anyways, it's been my impetus for even
Yeah.
more personal evolution. I looked at him next to me in bed, and I was like, I could only see our wedding photos, and that's not my usual inclination. And then I thought, oh damn, as RuPaul says, right? How in the hell? Uh, what does she say again? Like,
I love RuPaul. RuPaul's amazing. I watched this RuPaul masterclass. It was so good.
yeah,
Yeah.
how in the hell is someone gonna love you? Or oh, it's he says it.
Yeah,
She says it
you got
all
like
this.
love
Yeah,
yourself.
you
You got to
gotta
be
love
like super
yourself.
embracing of yourself.
Yeah.
She's I don't know, he or she don't know how to refer to these people anymore these days, but yeah, he was like, dude, I love that. I love that. I love
Oh,
RuPaul.
if you can't love yourself, I have it. If you can't love yourself, how in the hell you gonna love somebody else? And I think it's you know, so yeah, in order for other people to really fall in love with you, I think you got to fall in love with yourself first. And so, I had been doing Feldenkrais for 10 years. When was it? No, a bit less than that, 8 years. And it's I think it's great to have learned to be gentle, soft with myself, but then in real life also to see how I can be gentle and soft in uh, dealing with some harder challenges. So going to the gym and just seeing like the benefits, like I know it's uncomfortable. And Feldenkrais classes are not always pleasant for people. People can get really frustrated because they don't know how to do the movement, or some things from the past come up, and so it's uncomfortable because actually one trainer, he was so amazing. He said, he said to the whole class during our second year of training, he said, you're all really courageous for being in a Feldenkrais training or even coming to a Feldenkrais class, because you have committed yourself to coming in and facing what you don't know um, every day. And I'm like, yeah. So doing something, I think it's more about expanding your comfort zone, right? I think we all need a comfort zone. Our nervous systems, they benefit from having the familiar. But what if you had more familiar things, right? You're comfortable in many situations. So that's how the beautiful Brazilian, inspired me to reap more from doing things that I'm scared of, that I find hard, and I can always pick my level of challenge. Sometimes I can challenge myself a lot. Sometimes um, I challenge myself just a bit and gain that little bit.
What are some things that you're still scared of? Some kind of possibilities you'd like to go for, but you're kind of still scared of? And is that connected to your body at all? Like certain parts of your body or whatever? Like confidence in moving in a certain way?
Yeah, I think for sure I want to push myself to learn more dances. And here in Copenhagen, I was very lucky to work with a woman. I want to just give a shout out. Her name is Marie Kay, champion house dancer. And she, had this, we were able to curate this professional morning dance training, combining the more usual conventional contemporary dance classes, techniques with what we called street and club dances, in other words, rhythmical dances. So hip hop, we did a lot of freestyle hip hop, some voguing, house, of course, I think some African dances as well, whacking, because I feel that now I'm pushing myself to do more of those dances because I can feel like such a ballerina still, still wanting to keep my head above my pelvis, whereas I need to get the pelvis moving in all these different directions. And like with just a few classes, um, I just felt so like I already have fun at a club when we go out dancing, and but however, now I had more structure in playing with my pelvis in different directions, the head in different directions, the shoulders, you know. Then I had,
Oh, that's good stuff.
yeah, and I really want this to spread because I just see this as neuroplasticity, a practice of neuroplasticity, of just expanding not only your human, um, your brain, but your spirit, your heart. The more you can be confident on the dance floor, then you also groove with people, you can connect, and it's a very spiritual thing. And so, like, maybe you'd be really interested in this. Um, there was a teacher from Ukraine, from Kiev, Nastya Madstate on Instagram. Check her out. She's teaching freestyle hip hop, and she is so cool. I want to be her, but it's really hard. We just start with these the bouncing and some really simple footwork, like maybe step to the side, come back to the middle, step to the side, come back to the middle, and you keep that. And then you just articulate your head. You just thrust your head in these basic directions: forward, back, right, left. And then let's say, so with your head, you just practice forward, right, back, and left, and forward, right, back, and left. And now you got to do that with the sidestepping. So we were doing a lot of
It's
these.
like Feldenkrais, kind of like a.
Yeah, and
It's
yeah,
kind of like Feldenkrais. It is.
yeah.
It is. Because I always think of
But that's
dancing as
how I
like I
thought of it
never
too.
like you try dancing because I thought it was like you have to make big movements and you got to do these like all these hard things and like look too hard. It looks all impossible. But if it's just like this, like slowly, a long month, year drawn out Feldenkrais session where you're just going again and again, day after day, and like now it's like you're dancing.
Yeah.
You thought you're doing Feldenkrais, but now you're dancing.
And I think Feldenkrais really has that benefit of taking one outside of the normal context. So outside of the dance context, outside of everyday life, and you're just going to do this movement. It's like going to a laboratory. And then you get to move without so many of these social and cultural layers. And so what it is, back to the brain, is that this is education. You just said, oh, I hope that this stays, right? Well, your nervous system learned something. And like how you read, right? You don't need to go back to when you were, I don't know how old, when you started recognizing the alphabet, right? You've learned it. And so you can forget it. That's what having something learned means, that it just happens for you. And so Feldenkrais really helped me get this orientation in my body. So if something, now I can just do these things because I've done so many Feldenkrais lessons that actually educated my nervous system. So now I'm like, okay, head to the left. Okay, my ribs know what to do. My shoulders know what to do. And so I get to understand myself more in movement, and then I can nerd out even more and have that a higher level of challenge now in a freestyle hip hop class, right? But the amazing thing was that and this was after the Brazilian. So then I said, okay, I'm going to commit to these five classes because they were tough. I wanted to cry at so many moments because I'm a professional dancer, and this like I was tripping everywhere. But thank goodness I passed the. I was already 37 by then, and I'm like, okay, now's the time to make mistakes. And actually, I need these mistakes to stay young and to stay and to actually mature. So I'm like, okay, let's dive in. Okay, now I'm diving into fire, and sometimes I could just do a little bit, or I just like take a small portion of the movement. You know, she also gave us room to like do things simply, to slow down, or sometimes we just also needed to like not analyze so much and do. So it's a messy learning process. So 5 days, and for 3.5 days I felt like crying in so many moments, but I said, no, what are you going to get if you just keep on going, you know? And by the fifth day, I was like, okay, there's like, and still like now I'm feeling when I'm at the club, I'm like, okay, this is from Nasia's class. And it's not like I really want it to happen, but it's settled in my body. But the amazing thing about the brain was that when I was meeting a friend who was visiting, she was visiting from Hong Kong, and we had lunch, and I was talking to her. I was so articulate in my speech and in my thinking. It was like I could see my thoughts in boxes, um, three-dimensionally around me, because we had been so spatial the whole time in this rhythm. Like, I don't know if this is another podcast session, but like I really want people to see the benefits of these rhythmical dances. Like, I want to spend a year in South America learning these different dialects and languages of the pelvis. Go to Cuba, go to Brazil, whatever, you know, those. And then I've been doing some belly dancing, a few classes in Hong Kong with my mom. Like we went to class together, because I'm like, we're learning human. Like of course you can do this with your shoulders. Of course you can do this with your chest, with your pelvis. And you know, it's intelligence, it's the sensuality, it's the human spirit. But you know, and we're shaping, you know, if you really want to be nerdy, you're shaping your brain. But if I have all this grooving inside of me, I find that it's just such a functional basis to then come back to this contemporary dance world that I've been a part of for what, 2 decades now.
By the
And
way, you move so beautifully and naturally. Like, okay, I'm living in Japan, and like a lot of modern places, modern cities, people are their faces are frozen. They're kind of walking like a robot kind of thing. You know, it's like how a lot of the world is. It seems. And did you notice any? I know we don't want to be bashing cultures or whatever, but have you noticed like a connection between the way people move in a certain culture and their um, normal life, the way they walk, the way they kind of shake their hips or whatever, the way they smile, and the way society there is sort of structured, work and economies and all that kind of stuff? Have you noticed any of that
well,
connection there?
yeah. I think we all notice it. And you know, my
Yeah, of
and we're
course.
not bashing here, but like if
Yeah.
from a distance you can see, like if you had someone from Brazil, raised in Brazil, someone raised in Japan, you would be able to see that there's almost like a fingerprint, right?
Well, you can see when I'm
Um,
walking, see someone in the distance, I can be like, that's not a Japanese person. That person must be from like South America or something. You can just tell by the way they're walking. And it's like, it sounds bad.
yeah,
Like, why are you judging people like that? But like, I can see it in their hips. I can see it in their, like, they're just walking
like
that
at the
way.
airport, I can
And even me, I walk different than everyone walks different.
yeah, and like at an airport, I can usually tell when someone is Chinese, whether they are overseas Chinese, like American born Chinese, Canadian born Chinese to Chinese. And then yeah, I can see sometimes in movement and also like in how they dress, right? But like we're talking about movement. I think in movement, I can also tell like Japanese and um, Korean people that people, you know, because we have different cultures, we move differently. And I know when I pass a Japanese restaurant, uh, if they're Japanese or not, because there's a formality, there is this uh, reverence, you know, in the way that they, that the lines of their bodies are expressed. and hold space, that I'm like, that's an authentic Japanese place. That's a Japanese chef. And that's when I will go in, because I want the authentic experience. Um, so, and of course, here we're not saying good or bad, but just saying that it's interesting to see how culture, our environment, upbringing, all of that education has an effect on how we move and how we behave.
And your personality, your emotions, everything.
Yeah. But back to the dancing thing, like I've been following a Japanese house dance teacher. So maybe you want to check that out and you'll see that like, they're moving beautifully. Him especially, but his students, so I think in dance, I really see this as, yes, it's like Feldenkrais, you're learning new possibilities, but then you're also learning the language of other cultures, and you might find more commonality as well, which also brings out the uniqueness of the different cultures that we come from. So I think with this podcast, I just want to, because it's so brain oriented, I really want to also share my perspective of how learning these different dances enables, it's a cultural experience, but it also helps expand your brain to give you more options to live fully, and also to have a taste of the experiences around the world.
And it also teaches you what how you move, your face, how you move your body. It changes your feeling, it changes your personality basically. It changes your emotions, it changes all of that. And I know we can live anywhere and find ways to be who we are, but the environment is such a powerful impact on us. I feel like we have to, if you're in a place where the world moves in the way that you like to move and people move in this beautiful way that you find beautiful, uh, that's great. After doing Feldenkrais, did you rediscover that you loved certain places and maybe other places didn't suit your personality as well? You don't have to name the places, but like what
Mm,
kind of place lets you move naturally and beautifully? What are some features of that place?
I've appreciated more my time in the studio, because back, when I was in a dance company and I hadn't done Feldenkrais yet, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm just like, what? I'm just like doing this thing. But then now I see how each movement, it's, I'm twisting and moving so many other things. It has much more significance for me. Um, in terms of countries, I don't know. I've always been a traveler, but then I think now I'm very interested in going to, like, as I said, South America, where I'm sure there are inhibitions because of the dominating religions and the values of certain of their different cultures. But in general, I feel that I have a Latin side. I'm much more curvy, fluid. I want to be more flirtatious, and um, yeah. And I don't know. Sometimes going back to Hong Kong, it's I think I have such a I gravitate towards sensuality in what I'm when I'm teaching, and it's because I really see it as a power, and it's a power that I've seen a lot of Hong Kong women deny themselves of, because with sensuality, you might not be seen as proper, um, as eligible for certain positions in society. That there's this rigidity that I have seen in wanting to be a good girl, um, and it's also for men, but I really see it with a lot of the women in Hong Kong. And I think things have changed, but that has been a lasting impression for me, where I just saw women walking and I'm like, oh no, like, but where it's just for their own pleasure, but also like having a back, like having a soft, powerful back, and not being not always having back pain because you gotta just stiffen up to be proper and valued in society. So yeah, sometimes maybe in Hong Kong, I'm like, oh, I don't feel as free, but yeah, I think it's shifting, and also it's up to me to also say, okay, you can be a little bit more luscious when you're on the street, but then sometimes the flexibility means like, no, follow the rules, read the room. You don't need to be a diva right now, so that I have the possibility of not only being free, and but I can be free in respecting what limitations are favorable to me at that point.
And maybe society's changing, but it seems like in a lot of places we get punished for moving naturally and for like being this, you know, full human. They want us to they
Mm-hmm.
kind of want to trap your body into certain rigid movements, and it's not about the body, but because if you move in a certain way, you think in a certain way, you feel in a certain way, you kind of just obey the rules. You stay in the little lanes, and when you start moving freely, you start thinking, you start getting new ideas like, ooh, maybe I could do this, maybe I could do that, maybe I don't have to do this, maybe I could do that. And some companies don't like such free thinking employees, um, and some girls or boys maybe don't want such a free thinking partner because like, oh, he's gonna. They kind of want their predictable thing. Economies want to be able to,
Mm-hmm.
governments want to control their citizens, their thinking. So it's like, okay, just follow the rules. So it's kind of like, I think maybe I don't know where it started, if it started with thinking or started with the body or whatever, but it all kind of ends up in the same place of, this kind of mind control, body control type of thing. And once you can crack open the body, you can crack open the mind, or vice versa.
Vice versa, I would say.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Both.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, just one short thing. Feldenkrais has this model where like there are four components of action. So the four components of action are thinking, sensing, feeling, and movement. So affecting any of these four elements would affect the other elements as well. So we're working with the dynamic, right? The whole mixture all the time. So you can change something in your thinking that will affect the way that you move, the way that you act, and it can also be through movement or through different feelings, different sensations to affect, yeah, how you think, how you move, act. So yeah, that's just what I wanted to insert.
We've been going for a long time now. You might need to go, and
Yes.
we should probably go. And we could always hang out again later, do something again another time.
Yeah.
But dude,
Well,
this is
I think
super
it's
good for
like
me. You changed. Like I know it wasn't just
this
it was
is
you. It's like the whole thing. But dude, I feel like this is like one of those transformational moments for me. So thank you for kind of helping be a catalyst for that.
yeah. Well, I think it was just meant to be that we meet each other on LinkedIn. Thank you so much for reaching out, and yeah, this has been super um, giving for me as well. It's really a gift to also hear um, how this has changed you, helped you, and I'm sure this will be one conversation, the first conversation of many. Um, yeah, Japan's not so far away from Hong Kong, so
Get over here. What should I do next if I don't have like a teacher, a Feldenkrais teacher, and a lot of people listening on this, they may not know what to do next. I'm sure there are YouTube
mhm.
videos or there's something to do. Like what do we do next?
Google Feldenkrais. You look for a local practitioner. You can go to their live classes. So this is actually just it's one of the two ways of the Feldenkrais method. So this is called awareness through movement, and it's all verbal instructions. And then you have functional integration, which is actually hands-on, where it all started. So that would be one on one session. So check out to see if there's a local Feldenkrais practitioner, and also experience a hands-on functional integration lesson. And there are also some online resources. One which I've also been part of is called the Movement and Creativity Library. So you can access a library of Feldenkrais recordings, and there are many of those now. I have to get on top of my own to start that. And yeah, it's in Japan actually. There's a quite a big Feldenkrais community. If you want to look into that, I don't know how good your Japanese is.
I'll learn only the Feldenkrais language of Japanese. No, and I know you have a bunch of videos up there too. I saw that you have these lessons like you had today. I didn't watch them because I didn't want to spoil it, but I know you've got a bunch of
Yeah.
videos up on YouTube as well. I'll try to find them and link them.
Yes.
There.
Great. Those are old.
Yeah. Well, you're old. I'm just joking. No, you look like you're like 20. Like you're like super young. You're saying you were 37. I'm like, what the heck? How old are you now? No, maybe it's
just turned 38. So
it's the Feldenkrais. The Feldenkrais is keeping you young. The fountain of youth.
You will find that as well.
Yeah, and then your Instagram page is beautiful. I love that one. So I'll put that up there too. I'll find it. Oh, what is it again? I got it, but just you can say it though too.
It's at Paul_moves.
Yeah.
Paul_moves.
Paul_moves. Is there like is that the best way to follow you or connect with you?
Yeah.
Okay.
I also have a website. It's simply www.paulsfeldenkrais.com. So that's projects plural. paulsfeldenkrais.projects.com.
Yeah, I'll add that all on the notes and stuff. Anyway, thank you for this amazing experience. I hope we'll catch up again. Yeah, thanks again. Oh, one other comment too. You're mentioning the before we go, there's a functional integration, but there's also the what's the other one? Awareness through
movement.
There's a kind of connection between them too, because I noticed there's this one point, mostly when I was doing the exercises, it was like nothing like startling, but you notice like you gain more awareness. But there was this one point where I was stretching my left side, where I was moving my arm in one direction. I think it was down. I was moving my shoulder down, my left shoulder down, and there's kind of a tremor in my ribs. So it's kind of shaking, almost like if you've done TRE or some sort of polyvagal theory kind of stuff. It was like a little. Usually the tremor is like in the psoas muscles you get with the TRE, but this like was a tremor kind of in my ribs. So I was like, whoa, it shook, and I can still feel like like I shook something loose. So maybe that's like what you get with the pure on hands-on kind of thing. Get more of that stuff, but I think it happens a little bit with even this too.
I find that I encounter more and more people who, I don't know if it's because they have TRE experience, but yeah, it's I'm coming across more and more people who actually experience these tremors. But,
I said one. I was like, woo.
I can't really say that I have.
Any explanation for that?
So, I mean, it could be the body just like releasing whatever trauma was there, or it can be that, finally something has been awakened as well, or the muscle became tired. I don't have like a concrete explanation about that, but I think if you're up for it, I know some people are not so open to the shaking, but if you do have TRE experience and you're okay with allowing it to happen, I think a Feldenkrais lesson is where you can really feel at ease to let whatever comes out to come out when you feel safe. Yeah, provided that you feel safe. So
all right,
yeah,
Paul_moves.
But it's amazing.
You moved me today. I think you moved a lot of us. So yeah, thanks again, and see you soon.
Yes, I'm looking forward to it.